She wakes up in like the king's, not the king's bed, but like one of the guest rooms. Yo, what's up, YouTube? It's me, Kasiri, and I'm keeping it real. I'm keeping it real. And I'm reading these books, and I'm like, man, these are like really good, and I feel like other people should know how good they are. So I'm gonna be telling you about all the books that I've read so far this year. I would have to say, yeah, I'm gonna tell you the books that I read so far this year, and I'm gonna be ranking them from like one to whatever, however many they were. And yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so I haven't even really ranked them myself yet. So I guess it's gonna be about right, huh? I'm gonna give y'all the whole roster, the whole rundown. So the first book that I read this year of 2024 was Small Favors by Aaron A. Craig. I wasn't ready for it. That's all I gotta tell y'all. Like, because let me tell you, first things first, like, when I first, like, was recommended it was for a project at in English class. And I was like, oh, I guess I'll find something that I, like, have to read. And the librarian was like, oh, and it's got a little bit of horror in it. I was like, ooh, horror? What are you talking about? Like, girl, okay. So I got it because I was like, it's gonna keep me like amused. It's gonna keep me on my toes. Boy, did she! When I tell you, like, this threw me for a whole loop. Basically, it's about this girl who lives in this town, but it's a pretty secluded town, right? It's like in the middle of the woods. And one day they like the supply group for the food and stuff. They come back beaten and bruised. I mean, like, who beat y'all up? They're like, oh, it's a monster out there. So it's basically just them trying to figure out, like, if they're gonna, like, still go out there when there's a monster, like, if they're gonna just, like, survive off of food, or, like, the food they have. And some stuff starts going down psychologically and stuff, and they start, like, are you the killer? Who's the killer? Did you steal my chickens? Who stole my chickens? But it's, oh my gosh, it's so good. And that was Small Favors. It has some really nice romance touches in it. It's got a little sweet little touch to it, but it's got a lot of death, a lot of mourning. It's got a lot of real stuff like starvation and like divorce and forced marriages. Oh my gosh, it's so interesting. Oh my gosh. Okay, whatever. On to the next. Okay, so the second book that I read this year, 2024, was Trial of the Sun Queen by Nisha J. Tooley. Is it getting hot in here, guys? Are you guys feeling a bit hot? Here. It's spicy. Okay. And basically, it's about this girl who is, first of all, starts off in prison. One of the most like barred up prisons in the entire world. And for what crime, you might ask? We don't know. Nobody knows. That's the mystery of it all. So we don't know why she's in this prison. But one day she gets out and she's transported to like she wakes up in like not the king's bed, but like one of the guest rooms. and they like dressing her up and stuff, and she's like, "What am I doing here?" And she's like, and they're like, "They're gonna compete in the Sun King Queen trials for the King's hand in marriage." Yay! Like what? Okay. And it's basically her just trying to survive and trying to figure out where, like, how she got there. Honestly, trying to win the Sun Queen trials. Because what? Yeah. Fighting with her guard. We'll figure out later that he's gay. Okay, so the second book that I read this year, was that smooth? I hope it was. Anyways, was The Rule of the Aurora King. And guess what? It's the second book of Trial of the Sun Queen. What do I do? Anyways, so if you don't want to hear any spoilers, well, actually, it's not really going to be a spoiler if you ever read the Shrek book, but I don't know. If you don't want to hear any spoilers of the last book that I just mentioned, go ahead and cover your ears. But if you really don't care, tune in, I guess. Okay, so it's basically about, lore. And she has just gotten kidnapped out of the prison of the Sun Palace by the Aurora Prince. Crazy! Who is her, the Sun King's arch nemesis. But we're not going to talk about that. We're not going to talk about that. Because this book is basically just about her, first of all, still being girl boss and locked down. Because she's like, first of all, you're my family. Who are you? Let me go. Stuff like that. But she's also realizing that there's more potential in her bloodline than what was first mentioned. Or, there's something deeper in there that she could really be doing right now. And she could use little Aurora Prince to her advantage. So that's what she does basically this whole time. And I love that for her.
I went ahead and cut it into 2 parts because this was longer than I expected it to be. So I'll see y'all in part 2.